Our next group of problems have binomials in the denominator. So remember, a binomial is two terms. They're separated there by that minus sign or plus sign. So what would happen if I were to multiply this fraction by a clever one, square root of 5 over square root of 5? It would give me 3 square root of 5, but when I multiplied here, I would need to distribute, and I'd end up with 2 square root of 5 minus square root of 5 times square root of 5, which is just 5. So even multiplying by this clever radical 1, I still end up with a radical in the denominator because it made it pop up over here. All right, so now let's try double distributing here, foiling this. So I get 4 times 4 is 16. My outside is positive. No, it's negative, isn't it? Negative 4 radical 7. And my inside is positive 4 radical 7. And then positive times negative, negative. Square root of 7 times square root of 7 is 7. And these are going to subtract out. They're like terms. And I end up with 16 minus 7 is 9. So when I multiply by the same two numbers, but with the opposite sign in the middle, when you FOIL it, the outside and the inside come out to be the same thing, but one's negative and one's positive, and they subtract out, and you get rid of them. So that's going to be our plan on this as we work through it. So to rationalize the denominator with a binomial containing a square root, then you must multiply the numerator and the denominator of the fraction by what's called the conjugate of the denominator. So I will expect you to know what a conjugate, what that word is and what it means. So a conjugate are the same two numbers, like these are the same, but with opposite signs in the middle. Notice the front one keeps the same sign, but it's the opposite sign in the middle. So if I had the square root of 7 minus 1, its conjugate would have both a square root of 7 and a 1, but it would be a plus in the middle. And here, this last one, I have a square root 6 and a square root 7. The opposite sign would make a minus. So these two expressions are conjugates. These two expressions are also conjugates. All right, so example 3, we're going to simplify and rationalize the denominator. So to do it, we're going to multiply by the conjugate of the denominator. So 2 square root of x plus the square root of y. So it's going to be important to change that sign right there. And then here, I'm going to put the clever 1, so I'm going to put the same thing exactly in the numerator. And so then I'm going to multiply these out. So in the numerator, I get 3 square root of x times 2. So front times front gives me a 6. Square root of x times square root of x is x. And then the 3 radical x times the second one is going to give me a positive 3. And then radical xy. So the x and the y are on the inside. Divided by, and then I'm going to FOIL this. So I get 4x. I get 2 times 2 is 4, and radical x times radical x is x. My outside is going to be a positive 2 square root of xy, and my inside is a negative 2 square root of xy. So that positive and negative are going to become 0. And then for my last, I have a negative times a positive is negative. Square root of y times square root of y is y. So, still not pretty. I have a radical up here, but I don't have any radicals in the denominator. So I've rationalized the denominator and got rid of the radicals. Then B, I am going to multiply by the conjugate of the denominator. So same two terms, but with a minus in the middle. And then I need to do exactly the same thing in the numerator. So now I will need to double distribute this. So I'm going to get 2 radical 5. My outside's going to be positive 2 radical 3. My inside, they're both insides, aren't they? It's going to be square root of 15. And then a positive times a negative is negative. Square root of 3 times square root of 3 is 3. All over. Then I have the square root of 5 times the square root of 5, which is 5. My outside is negative square root of 15, and my inside is positive square root of 15, which is 0. And then positive times a negative is negative. Square root of 3 times square root of 3 is 3. Simplify. I don't see any like terms up there. So this is just going to stay 2 square root of 5 plus 2 square root of 3 plus square root of 15 minus 3. And then 5 minus 3 is 2. All right, so you try these. Find the conjugates of these expressions and then rationalize that denominator. And so then we're done with that for right now. We'll just pick up in class next time.